This is Trump's attorney.
The New York County District Attorney.
Like his actual attorney, not like fucking Lena Hubba or whatever.
New York City. And
one of his real attorneys.
In my experience, cases that they really shouldn't. I've seen them indict many cases that I am later taking into dismissals or acquittals because they don't really instruct the jury on what the law was. And so even if you have a situation where the facts aren't in dispute, the judge isn't in the room. And the prosecutors who want the indictment are the ones telling the jurors, hey, by the way, this is the law as we interpret it. But if that's not what the law actually is, that indictment gets dismissed.
So sources have told CNN that Donald Trump faces more than 30 counts related to business fraud. If that number is correct, does the quantity of charges surprise you based on what you know about this case?
No. See, the feds, when they bring a case, they do it in a pretty concise manner. New York County District Attorney, I've seen them many times where they take each individual little transaction and they separate it into different counts. I once had a gambling case. It was a small sports book that they put into 1,000 different counts for every single bet that they placed. So the quantity doesn't really mean anything here.
Do you know if the president's team and the state of New York are discussing the arraignment logistics? We know that the court date is Tuesday.
That is my understanding, is that they're working out the logistics. And again, that's not my responsibility, but that is my understanding.
Yes, no, understood. Do you know if your colleagues who are specifically on this case been given details of the indictment, which obviously we're told still is under seal?
No, they wouldn't be given detail. Really, the fact that we're even talking about this kind of demonstrates the double standard, because ordinarily you wouldn't have any of these details because it's sealed. It's illegal for them to be leaking details like how many counts, what the counts are, and things like that until a judge actually orders it unsealed. So no, they wouldn't be sharing that with the team at this point.
So Donald Trump has made a lot of public statements and statements on social media attacking District Attorney Bragg, attacking this case. Spell out the evidence, in your view, that the DA has done anything improper.
Well, really, what's wrong here is the allocation of resources. This is a district attorney that not very long ago, there were pretty significant calls for his removal by his failure to prosecute crime in New York City and the rising crime in Manhattan that matched his failure to prosecute. And instead, he diverts presumably millions of dollars into something that really doesn't have any effect on keeping New Yorkers safe. Now, again, it's not my case, so I'm not going to comment on the specific facts here, but this is the problem with elected district attorneys, because elected district attorneys, particularly in one-party jurisdictions, on either side of the aisle, they oftentimes don't pursue what keeps the voters safe, but rather what they think is going to help them win the next primary. And so it is that prioritization of politics over what is going to be keeping the New Yorkers safe that's really the big misconduct in my mind.
What about the argument that under Donald Trump's administration, there was a U.S. attorney, Mr. Berman, in New York, who brought the case against Michael Cohen for a related crime? And if that was criminal, then individual A mentioned in that indictment of Michael Cohen should also at some point face consequences.
Well, so there's 2 points to that. First of all, that is a decision for the U.S. Attorney's Office to make. The U.S. Attorney's Office, they had Michael Cohen sign a cooperation agreement. They went through all of this stuff with him. They had him in for several proper sessions, and they ultimately decided he was not credible enough for them to bring a case against anybody else. And he was sentenced without a 5K letter or a cooperation letter. But the other point is this: just because somebody has pleaded guilty to something as part of a cooperation agreement does not mean that other people committed that crime. I've had many clients acquitted based on the say-so of a cooperating witness who pleaded guilty to something that judges or juries later said was not a crime.
As you know better than I, this is not the only criminal investigation into Donald Trump's actions. There's the DOJ special counsel investigation in D.C., which encompasses the documents that were at Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump's involvement in January 6th. There's the Fulton County, Georgia special grand jury investigation into election interference.
Oh, that guy that got banned just said, if you're happy about Trump being indicated, go fuck yourself. Which is pretty funny because, like, he said indicated instead of indicted. Dude, his supporters got the same fucking brain processing power that he has. Like, is awesome.